Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of StadiumCast. I am Lundberger, known to most of you by now as Amanda.
And I am Inadequance, also known as Martijn. Today we have a magical guest. Sorry, that was a little bit lame, but we have MagicMayson today. He's a pretty good player, right? I think you won. Did you win 2 regionals last season, or you've won 2 regionals in total, right?
Oh, actually, just Toronto.
Just
which
Toronto,
my
yeah.
only
You know
win.
how many I
Yeah.
won?
Only.
I won 0, by the way.
they're not easy to win, man.
True.
Yeah.
That is true. Mason, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes. So in terms of this game, I've been playing since the beginning. I took a little bit of a break during the end of my college career, and then once COVID came around, I got back into the game and found PvP and pretty much fell in love and got addicted to that. Personal, I went to college at Penn State in Pennsylvania, in the United States, and I went for petroleum engineering, and I am a technical analyst for my company. So those are some of my accolades in general.
I think you forgot the most important thing on your resume, and that is that you are also a dream eater.
Yes. That is a nickname that I was able to get last year because I planned on going to so many tournaments after Toronto. And unfortunately, I didn't like doing it to a lot of my friends, but knocked out some competitors who were yet to qualify. Notoriously, a couple times with Wadaj before he went on his streak. So
Yeah, well, I think that's a name to be proud of, no? Well, how do you feel about? Do you take it as something good or bad when you're being called the Dream Eater, the gatekeeper, right? The one you have that keeps you from qualifying, and who hasn't really gotten a qualification for himself to get at the tournament still.
yeah, it was a little bit tough because I like to play, I like to compete, I
Mhm.
like to go out and meet people. But I didn't like the sort of little bit negative connotation with it, where people would say like, you're going out there and you're stealing spots from people. But I just sort of try to like silence that noise. And once I heard the nickname from Wholesome come out a couple times at some of the different streams and VODs that I watched back, I just ran with it, and now I sort of just embracing the fact that it's a little bit of a part of me now.
There's really two sides to it, in my opinion, because the fact that many players that already are qualified go to tournaments still, that means that, like, technically those tournaments become less valuable, right? Because you saw at NEIC, I think, like, the top 10 qualified. So if you just wait all season, obviously it's not a guaranteed qualification, but if you just wait all season and you go to the very few last tournaments, we might have a few MagicMaysons in there, and you only have to get to like top 8 to qualify, right? Instead of win it all or top 2.
Yeah, I think especially we had an experience together at Hartford last year, but a lot of the top 8 there were qualifiers. So I know Wadaj ended up winning, I think, and getting his qualification there, but I think it might have cascaded down to like maybe 5th, 6th place there. If I
think
can't
it was
remember.
6th place. Yeah, it was either Meteor Valiant or Trogdor. Meteor Valiant had to beat me. But then I ate his dream, and I was very proud of that because he ran Basildon every tournament. He's a nice guy, don't get me wrong, but yeah, Basildon, I had to do that. So then it went to Trogdor, and I think he was 6th, yeah.
Yeah, I think that sounds, because I was 5th because you got 4th right
Mhm.
ahead of me, I think so.
This is a good
That makes
subject.
sense.
I mean, while we're kind of on it, we talked a little bit, or we touched on it last season with a couple other players as well. And obviously, I mean, the fact that you were still competing, Mason, you kind of already have an opinion on it. But what would you say to the people that would call you a dream eater? Say, like, it's not fair that this guy continues to compete when there's still players, especially because this season coming up. Obviously, the championship points have changed things a little bit. So now, if you are a first place person, you automatically get a qualification for Worlds, but then after that, you just get points. So let's say that you get first in Pittsburgh this coming weekend. What are your thoughts or your validation going forward if you still choose to compete?
Yes, I thought this year I might take it a little bit slower if I do happen to qualify early. There's still certain areas that I would want to maybe go out to a tournament and compete. But if I happen to get lucky enough to win another tournament pretty early, such as Pittsburgh, Peoria, or maybe even Toronto again, all happening before the end of October, I'll probably slow it down headed into the new year, but still attend a couple relatively close to me. And just try to keep myself fresh, as we go to Worlds. Nothing I mean, you can do so many practice tournaments remotely, but nothing really prepares you much like the in-person experiences you get at these tournaments. So I don't think there's any problems with it. And the good thing is you don't have to qualify. You don't have to win a tournament anymore to now qualify or get second place. So even if I do go to a tournament after winning and eat someone's dreams, maybe they can still get enough points in a different situation with their locals, other regionals, internationals with boatload of points available at those. I think it's a good opportunity, and I'm personally not the biggest fan of the CP points. I like the ability for people to be able to go to one tournament and qualify. I'm lucky enough to where I'll be able to probably hit 6, maybe 7 if I need to, and qualify. So like it works out for me. But I always feel for the little guy who can only go to one tournament that's local to them, and just with the hopes to try to win one and qualify. So, which I mean you can still do, but I guess having the chance for second place or pass down is an option.
Yeah. What about you, Martijn?
I don't exactly agree on it. I do think that. So what you say about that you have to go to multiple tournaments now, I think actually from business perspective, I think that's a good thing, right? You want to motivate people to go to multiple, right?
Yeah.
I also think that like going to one regional and qualify is far from given when it's top 2 only that qualifies as a regional, technically, right? And unless it cascades down. I did like the cascading system, but yeah, that's also no longer there. I guess it makes the tournament still more valuable than it used to be when you just need to hit top 8, right? I do have a little bit of mixed feelings about that. I did like the cascading setting, right? That you don't need to win the whole thing. But I also think like
qualified.
Exactly. Also, it's actually true, right? I would have qualified through 3rd and 4th place. But either way, yeah, I do think it's rewarding for those who are very consistent, like a Mind Joke and Trent, right? I think those players should have been in Worlds as well, just for a very good performance rather than someone who does well in one tournament and then, yeah, they play good in one tournament and you see them at Worlds, or you don't even see them at Worlds anymore, just because they may have even lost their level because they're like, oh, well, I don't have to play anymore for 6 months, right? Because I'm already qualified.
Yeah, that's completely fair. And I think one thing I would have really liked to see with the CP format, or just sort of to try to mimic the other games available, was just the Swiss format, just so an early first round matchup doesn't have to send you through the gauntlet of the losers bracket. I guess we're not there yet, and hopefully that's something that can maybe come down by the start of next season, which I know is obviously still a long way away. But yeah, just even with this practice tournament recently done, an early second round matchup still just puts you in such a bad spot compared to where you might lose that and then win the next 5 just based off the Swiss format and qualified for day 2 a lot easier.
Yeah.
And I just think it really just filters out the top players more consistently, making it to day 2 if you have that Swiss format, because the top players are going to more often finish whatever it is, 5-1, 6-1, 7-2, depending on how many rounds you do.
No, I think that's a really good point. And I was going to make like an EU versus like North America or maybe LATAM comparison, but you did bring up Trent, Martijn, and that's a good point because he was someone in America that didn't qualify, that had maybe a similar run to a Mind Joke. But I do think, and I mean no disrespect to North America, even though everyone always says that I'm very EU biased, but EU just, our tournaments are so much larger on a whole as well, right? So, I mean, if you have 128 people participating and then you have only the top person or the top 2 people get to the qualifications, to me, it's a lot more difficult than if it's a tournament that has 34 people that, yes, of course, still you have to beat everyone, but it just seems on paper a little, not less difficult, but maybe a little less difficult.
No, I do agree. I think there have been comments made the past years about either tournaments with less people or just even less top players, which you would consider top players, and that they're easy to qualify. And I mean, sometimes you can't really sugarcoat it. It's the truth. With less numbers in a tournament, just the statistics tell you that it's going to be easier to make it, to qualify. I mean, you might still run into a tough bracket against a lot better battlers in a smaller bracket, but you even see the situations where people are getting buys and just having one less match they have to win, and sometimes it just makes that big of a difference. I mean, buys are all pretty much luck right now, Another thing I would sort of like is some kind of seeding format if that's ever available. I don't know how they would go about doing that. Um, but yeah, definitely buys can help out just any situation where you get to play less battles. I mean, you get to stay more fresh and ready to go, right?
Definitely. I want to ask you about last season. How do you stay so consistent in so many tournaments? You're definitely one of the. I will call you the American Inadequance.
Yeah, so I had two. Sometimes I feel like my biggest issue is team building. I know it was funny way back. I said with my experience last year, I started off my tournament season in Baltimore being weak to Altaria, and then did the same thing in Worlds, and like that was like my downfall in both of those tournaments. Just like that bird came flying around, and my teams were very soft to it, so just let it be super flexible. And was really challenging to overcome some of the matchups that I had. But once I find myself a good team, I just really I do a good job of. I like to use my headphones and just get into my comfort zone and just really dive in and focus on the battles. I like when I'm able to do so, I can get my counts perfect, my timing, and I just don't make a lot of mistakes. I'm not like, when I'm on stream, you'll see me left and right making mistakes because I'm talking to chat and stuff like that. But as soon as I get into like a competitive format, whether I'm at home and I get my headphones in, I just have like I'm always known as the guy when I go on stage. The guy setting up always goes, "Oh, music and sound, right?" Because I use both just to get myself isolated into that battle, away from everything else. So just really being able to focus and find a way to get in your comfort zone is just my biggest strategy. Is really just to avoid any kind of distraction and any mistakes.
Was I being difficult with you in Hartford then? Because I was talking to you the
Ooh.
whole time.
Yeah, you actually. That's one thing I told the Arrow was he's now beat me twice in a row. And after the second time, most recently NAIC, I said, I didn't remember any of my counts against you. I just realized this because we were talking so often. And if I don't focus, that happens. And even this is a funny story I tell everybody, but way back in the finals against Brown Balder, there was a notorious time where he was singing the song Country Roads, just in the middle of the battle, just singing like, because he says he does not count. So he was just doing whatever, and it just like distracted me, and like
He
I was
counts
just
his
like
own
I
moves,
never.
right?
Yeah, he counts his own moves. So it's just pretty funny. And then yeah, I noticed that anytime I get distracted, my quality of play goes down very much so. So just staying focused and being able to concentrate as much as possible is what really allows me to be successful.
I listen, Mayson. I know we really just got into this podcast, but the fact that Inadequance already compared the two of you, and the fact that you guys both play for the stadium team, I got to ask these controversial questions. Who do you think's the better battler between you and Inadequance here?
It's weird because I'd have to say Inadequate has my number in a lot of
Yeah,
tournaments. I mean,
yeah.
play Pokemon. We only met in Hartford. I was using Guzzlord. As a little bit of a spice pick. My team wasn't fully built to beat everything in the meta. His goon was a little bit tough for me. But even a lot of times when I've showed up in him and those different practice tournaments, he just had my number. I've been able to get him a couple times in GBL, especially with Kingdra on his Chandelure a couple times. No.
You feel good about
Um,
that, huh?
but no, a lot of times in Show 6 Pick 3, he's been one of the opponents, similar to both Auburn and 23 AEJB, that have just been able to always read me. I don't
Mm.
know why. I have good numbers against people like such as Pocket, Wadaj, some of the top battlers, but some people have good numbers against me. I just funny how I feel like anybody at the top level can be anybody, but it is funny how sometimes certain players just have good matchups against other players.
Do you
I
think it's play style? Sorry, I don't want to interrupt on that, but I do want to expand on it because some people, yeah, it's like they just know how someone's going to play specifically. We always joke around as well. There's like a Count Xavius who is on the Belgian team, and anytime he plays against Jarunja, who's from the US, he knows exactly. He'll be chatting with us because we're all watching it on stream. He's predicting to the second, like if the guy's gonna wait a turn, if he's gonna bait, if he's gonna swap on something. Like he just knows exactly how this person's gonna play. Martine, do you just feel that you just have a read exactly on how Mason's gonna play it, or is it just luck for you?
I think it's luck. But what Mason says, I definitely recognize. Against some players, you just never lose, and other players you just never beat. Even though that I don't think that they're any better than me or I'm much better than them per se, right? I consider Mayson also as my equal. Although now he said that he loses a lot to me, so maybe not.
now you're starting
No,
to count.
but like the way also like making a Guzzlord work, bring a little bit of off meta and making that work, I think that's a little bit. It just has a little bit extra to it, in my opinion, right? Rather than going 6 of the top 10 PV poke.
Sure.
You know, I like a Shadow Charizard there. Well, actually, you can consider that meta at the end of last season. Or, you know, but, you know, putting like a Guzzlord in there. I brought Mandibuzz Jealousies myself to Leo. It was pretty fun. I brought a Dunsparce at times. I think making off meta work is an extra point in my book.
Mhm.
Yeah, I will say I did just have a little bit more fun using the off meta after I qualified, such as my Shadow Drapion Tapu core that I brought to Fort Wayne as well and had good success with. Shadow Drapion just a fun pick just because it can really hit anything in most situations. So even if you don't win a lot of matchups, you can create a good farm down. And I'm still like off and on sometimes about bringing it onto my teams, and I just like the way it plays as like in the safe spot position quite frequently.
So speaking of meta, I mean, we just had a new meta kind of come about. Is there anything that's really standing out to you specifically, especially because of the new season, like you're talking about, is starting up? But I mean, by the time this podcast released, it's going to be the Pittsburgh weekend. Can we expect some staple picks from you? Are you doing a little bit of off meta here as well for the first tournament of the season?
Well, it's hard to even get a grasp for exactly what the meta is. I've seen a lot of different teams in like some of the practice I've done. I know I was running a GBL team somewhat weak to Gligar, so I'm thinking this thing is like amazing. I finally got a chance to test it out myself, and it is really good. So that's something we can definitely see, and definitely potentially ice picks. The Sand Slash or even something like a Frost Slash that can beat Metacham as well could be good because just like Inadequance, I think may have mentioned before, that might have been prior to launching it up. But grass and Gligar can be a good combination. So having that ice to cover both of those could be a key to victory potentially.
I think so too. I think we're gonna see a lot of Gligar, right? The fact that Noctowl is a little bit gone, well, I'm gonna say it's gonna take as big of a hit as Trevenant did in the previous season. That is what I predict. I think we'll see a lot less Noctowl. I think Mandibuzz just kind of replaced that now with the buff and area ace and the nerve and sky attack, right? Or we'll see a lot of Skarmory that I used in my practice tournament. I went 0-3 with it. Anyway, I think even though it's going very slowly, we do see a meta change over time, right? With Noctowl being pushed out, I would think that it gives more space to ghosts, but also it frees up Lickitung a little bit more, so we might see less ghosts, right? In most meta teams that I've seen so far, we see very little Sableye, and I think that's simply because people really fear Lickitung now. I think
Also,
what we're going back
Mandibuzz.
to...
If you think Mandibuzz is going to be big, I mean, Sableye wants nothing to do with that either.
It's not the worst. It's better than against Noctowl because you usually live 2 foul play, not 2 dark balls. But what did I want to say? What I do think that it's gonna be again is a Metacham Lickitung meta. That's what we had before the wing attack buff as well, and I think we're going back there. I think Mandibuzz is the main core breaker, but with Air Slash, Lickitung doesn't. I think wins the once even, and with Snarl, Metacham wins the 2 shields. So, Mandibuzz isn't even that much of a core breaker. It's just a Pokemon that fights back. There isn't really a core breaker right now. Well, you could run Noctowl, but with the Sky Attack nerf, Noctowl now is worse against Metacham. You win the 2 shields by like 5 HP or something, I believe. And that's a rank 1.
Yeah, that gives
Metacham didn't feel bad as it was against Noctowl, so now that it's even worse, it's like, I mean, obviously Medi got a slight nerf, but not in that matchup where you're going to be more consistently throwing ice punches or something else.
I mean, your team is most likely going to be registered. I don't know if you want to spill the secret sauce or anything yet, Mayson, but do you have anything for sure that you are planning on running in the weekend or anything that we're going to see on your team of 6? Or are you keeping your lips sealed until we actually see it on screen?
After this most recent practice tournament, I really like the idea of Swampert for just like potential Carbinks, the Registeels, the Glygars and stuff like that. But I just felt my team was so weak to grass a little bit. Like a Shadow Venusaur had such a lot of play. Even like I said, I was actually trying out Frostlass in in even situations with energy. you can actually end up losing that matchup because Frenzy hits so hard, and it really comes down to a charge move situation more than it does fast move pressure there. So I really got to figure out exactly what I want to do to make sure I have a couple more answers for that. But yeah, I was running a team sort of with the Swampert, Frostlass, Gligar sort of situation. So not sure what I want to do with that. But even Gligar was tough with shields down. Venusaur still threatens. You can see how much a Frenzy would do to Skarmory back in the day when it was double resisted. So now with Gligar even being a flying type, that ground typing still makes grass neutral. So not as fun as most flyers would have with Venusaur.
Yeah. I think the power of Gligar really though is usually most things that resist flying don't take ground very well. I think that's what makes Gligar really really good right now, right? Like electric that resists flying takes super effective damage from Dig, and the same for Steel, the same for all the Regirock out there. Last season, Mayson, we had a lot of things like on the NA streams mostly caster predictions. If you were to make predictions of 4 Pokemon that might win Pittsburgh, what would that be? You may pick 4 of your own Pokemon if you want.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think Gligar will be on a winning team. And I do really think Licky just feels extremely flexible right now. I mean, obviously, depending if people are going to use like Registeel as like the main check that I've really seen across the board, because we know the matchup versus Medi isn't really terrible, but like if you have like more as a Carbink as your as not really a steal, but your flyer answer over Reggie, those power whips can hit pretty hard. So both of those, I could honestly see like something like a Venusaur or even crazy as a Trevenant, just some kind of grass type emerge. And the one thing I was thinking I sort of liked, despite those grasses being like effective, is people are knocking off Lantern as the Spark variant, but I was just now thinking again with the Water Gun, how much those Water Guns add up on the Gligar, and while you're resisting the wing attack damage, any of those flyers, you're still sort of shutting down. And I think it was known that Water Gun Lantern could sort of handle Registeel a little bit better than Spark, so
you win all
no nerf there. You can now maybe use a Water Gun Lantern. Obviously, Carbink added to the meta, Water Gun damage hitting super effective as well, so just a lot of play for that Water Gun Lantern. I think I was just a little bit writing off Lantern because I always preferred the Spark variant, but running into a Water Gun one in a recent practice tournament, I really sort of like opened my eyes again. I'm like, I'm a little bit soft to this. So like, if I'm soft to this, other people may have the same situation that I do.
So speaking of Pittsburgh, how are you feeling? I know that you said, yeah, you didn't do the best in this practice tournament, but you are, like you said, a strong player. You're very consistent overall. Once you're in your own headspace and you're doing your counts and everything, yeah, you're very much a force to be reckoned with on the field. Do you think that you're going to take it? Do you think you're at least going to get some good championship points for the future?
I looked at my tournament history from last season and would have gotten tournament points in all of the tournaments besides that initial one in Baltimore. So I'm expecting, or at least hoping, to get some CP points. I do know some pretty decent names showing up. A lot of our stadium teammates that are local to North America. So anytime you go up against your teammates, and I think we have one of the best teams, a lot of talented battlers, any of them can take it. But I mean, you have, I'm pretty sure, names like Wadaz showing up. So anybody can take it. But my goal is really to start accumulating points, make day 2, and it'd really be really nice to win the home regional for sure.
That's one of the reasons why I kind of want to ask, because the first regional is like your home regional, right? I knew it was close to you. Yeah. How many regionals do you plan on attending? Are you going to Toronto?
I gotta defend my title. I mean, I can't say no to that.
I don't know if I can let that happen.
I'm not saying that's gonna happen. It's really hard to repeat, but I gotta at least try, right? I think I marked. So I think I have, because you can get points for 6 of them, I believe. I think I have 6 marked in terms of Pittsburgh, Peoria, Toronto. I think it's Charlotte, Knoxville, and then one more, I guess I'm forgetting, relatively close before NAIC down in New Orleans.
So I'm not super aware how that works. Is that 6 regionals, and then you can also get an international championship? You can also get points from that, or is that included in the 6?
I think internationals are separate, so technically you can get points from all 3 internationals as well, plus 6 regionals, plus up to 6 locals, and then like I think 6 challenges is what they're called. I forget. There's like 2 separate
Mm-hmm.
types of locals almost, but I think you can get 6 points from any of the categories, or like so if you went to 7 regionals and you scored points in all of them, and I don't even know what the lowest amount is, but you scored 10 points in one. And then you score 30 in this 7th one, it'll drop off that 10, I believe.
Oh, that's nice. At least, yeah. So
From
it's
your
not
from
like
your
you have to
lowest.
like. It's not like Sylph season. First seasons where you have to choose your weighted tournaments ahead of time.
I believe so, because that's what I was sort of joking with my one good friend John Kelly. I went out and visited him before Vegas, and I was like, if I have a bad tournament where I get no points, I might be coming to LA at the end of the season, so you better make room for me. So we were already joking about that, but he was actually very open to having me as well. So it might end up happening if I have another.
Well, I mean, Martijn lives in very close to Utrecht, so I'm sure you have some housing there as well, Mayson. If it doesn't work out in NA, maybe you try it abroad.
I think the thing is that like with the ability to already hit 6 regionals, if I was going to go somewhere abroad, it might be more of an international, because if I can get points from 2 internationals,
That's true.
then that'd be even a better situation. I was joking with Valiant Vish about coming down to Australia, but
There's no guys anymore.
we
very painful.
Yeah, that was tough.
Yeah, if you go to Utrecht, you just stay another month in Europe, and then you have EYC at the beginning of April. So there's your plan, right?
Yeah,
your holiday plan.
I work from home, so I can maybe make it work.
Easy.
I can get you a traditional Dutch home cooked meal. Yeah, what I'm doing with Alfindio as well.
What are you making them? Are you making them stoofvlees and some bitterballen?
I don't know. My food language is not that good in English, but do you know what boerenkool is?
No, I don't think we have that here.
Potatoes with kill, I think that's what it is.
Oh.
Yeah.
In Belgium, we have like stoomp, but it's like potatoes mixed, like mashed, like carrots or like something into like a
Belgium is a really weird country.
How dare you, sir? Ending this stream now. Mayson, it was a pleasure having you on.
Yeah.
Speaking of recommendations, I mean, since Pittsburgh is like pretty much your stomping grounds, if people are listening and they're planning on going, what is like a couple things that people should try to check out while they're in the area?
Yeah, so I'm obviously a huge sports fan. The Pirates of our baseball team, they're terrible. But we've been consistently voted one of the best ballparks, most beautiful ballparks, good views, and I happen to agree. So you can actually typically get cheap tickets. I'm not even sure if we're home that weekend. I haven't really checked. But you can typically get cheap tickets because we are so terrible, and you get to have a nice game out at a beautiful ballpark. As well as the Steelers are kicking off the NFL season that weekend as well at home. So the opportunity to do that. In terms of food, we're known for what are called permani sandwiches at a restaurant, and those are it's not my cup of tea. I'm not a big fan of coleslaw, but it's sandwiches of multiple different kinds, such as even a burger or any of that, where it comes with fries and coleslaw loaded on top. So they're really big around here, and definitely a local favorite. Not, like I said, not my main go-to, as not the biggest coleslaw fan, but sometimes I even enjoy it. So definitely something worth trying if you do happen to come to Pittsburgh and looking to try some of the local cuisine.
That sounds very American, yeah. Big burger and fries.
I just put it all on one.
yeah. It's like there's no side. It's like, oh, you wanted a side dish? Well, let's throw it right on top.
I must say though, during my visits to the United States, even I like those meals. I don't know. It's just pretty simple, right? Not the healthiest, but it's definitely.
One food I miss, although it's starting to be more popular in Europe, is buffalo wings. I really miss buffalo wings from the U.S. They're the one thing that I miss, and I crave it. And so when I'm back, I just like stuff my face with that in Chipotle whenever.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that not being other places, because that's my go-to. Like I said, especially being a sports guy, it really goes hand to hand with football. Like, so I love getting wings and watching a sporting event. I've always been a chicken guy, especially spicy. So like buffalo wings, I love spice. Buffalo wings is probably one of my top foods. So I understand you completely there.
All right. If we ever meet up again, we're gonna find a good buffalo wings spot to stuff our
Yeah,
faces.
there's definitely a lot of good ones.
Have you ever
Typically
had that
though,
Yeah, but
Not your
they're
thing?
probably not as good here, really.
Yeah, that's probably
But
yeah.
maybe if they have that in Toronto, I mean it's Canada, not the States, but
Yeah.
maybe we can do that, Mason. I don't know.
yeah, they should have. I mean, a lot of our food has made it up to Canada at least,
Mm-hmm.
in certain areas. So
All right, that's
hopefully
your
something
guys'
we can.
goal. You have to. I don't care how you guys do in the tournament. I need you guys to have Kip Martine some good buffalo wings, and I need you to report back if you like it or not. Because
Sounds like a
listen,
plan.
yeah, the friendship really, honestly, might end if you don't like it. The sauce,
Oh no,
sauce is the best thing that
I'm
I
good.
have.
I'll just pretend. I'm
Okay,
sometimes a
deal.
paid actor. I can be there too.
Really,
The
you're
good thing
never a good
is,
actor for me.
the good thing is they're most known for buffalo wings, like the spicy flavor. But there's all different kinds of teriyaki, honey barbecue, and some. I mean, can't even think of all the different flavors that restaurants will have. But you can probably find some kind of sauce that would fit your palate, and you can roll with it.
All right. The next topic that I had, Mason, was about your content creation. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Are you still? I don't think you've been live the past week, no, on Twitch.
Yeah, so I don't know sure if people have followed my Twitter, but I actually had a little bit of a health episode where I collapsed, and I
No, I
had to
remember.
get rushed to the ER. So I took a break from that, but I have been having some tests and everything's come back positive. They have me going for one more on the 18th. But I'm looking to kick back up into streaming starting Monday now that I know that I've been feeling better and tests have been coming back positive. So the Monday following Pittsburgh. So is my goal to kick it back on. And in terms of my content, I like to mix it up. Sometimes I'll go a little bit try hard, try the meta teams, and then sometimes I'll do spicy teams, anything from like the alphabet challenge and just mono type team challenges, and just go ahead and have fun with it. And just whatever I'm feeling, whatever's I feel like when I enjoy it as a streamer and like I'm enjoying the content and having a good time, the chat actually ends up having a lot better time as well too. So that's typically what I aim for. If I'm feeling sometimes like I like to play meta and win a lot of games, and sometimes I get just tired of running Medi, Medi Sableye, Licky or whatever, and I just have to start running Shadows R, just start blast burning things, even if I end up losing a lot of matches with it.
Where can people find you if they don't know already? So it's on Twitch.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
Twitch .tv/MagicMayson is my main thing. I'm on, I guess now it's X for Magic Mason, which I do a lot of my old Twitter. That's where I do a lot of my updates in terms of streaming, even keeping up with my play Pokemon performances, what regionals I'll be going to, etc. So those are most of my things that I have. The only two things that I have, I've always did consider at some point making YouTube content, but I've been very busy. But maybe once I kick it back up, that can be something I try to lean into again at some point.
I can say that having a full-time job plus Twitch plus YouTube, it's 11 p.m. here. I'm still going, so it takes a lot of time. I'll tell you that. But
Yeah, no.
For me, it's mainly a hobby, right? So if you enjoy doing something, it's definitely not the worst to do.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and also I can't think of a better birthday gift for you, right, than a bunch of more subscribers. So if people happen to be listening in, then go ahead. We'll put it in the description as well for the channel. But yeah, you just celebrated your birthday a couple days ago.
Yeah, actually, well, maybe by the time this is released, but the time of recording, yeah, I just celebrated it. Yeah, yesterday I had a really good dinner with family and friends last night. It's funny, it was a Japanese hibachi steakhouse, which nothing like the real Japanese food that I was able to experience over in Japan, but it was still a great time spending time with family and having some a little bit too much sake maybe. But no, it was a great time, and yeah, pretty happy to um I've had a great birthday and have my home regional right around the same time. It feels like it's meant to happen, right?
Yeah, that's an even better birthday gift, I would say. Winning your hometown regional right after your birthday.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
screw the
Well,
subscribers. What was
Just
I
tell your
saying?
opponent. Just tell your opponents, dude. They will
I'll take
understand.
both. I'll take the win and subscribers. No, I'm kidding.
And then you have the stream plan on Monday, right? Your winners recap. So it all
Oh boy, yeah,
it's all
yeah.
lined up. It's already lined up. It's really in the stars. Yeah. Amanda, how about we're going to ask our staple question?
Yes. I think that is going to be a good way to end this. Mayson, I don't know if you've been watching or listening to our streams much before, but we have a staple question here on the StadiumCast. It's a two-parter, so I'll give you each of them and give you a little time to think about it. So in this, we always ask, who, in your opinion, is a brawler? And this is someone who is maybe not even newer to PvP, but maybe just not super well known, but good, and you think that, yeah, this person's really going to make a name for themselves. And then who is a champion? And this is someone
Okay.
who already, is well known within the community, and you're like, yeah, this person could end up winning 2024 Worlds.
You may mention my name.
I'm not gonna make you like the name I mentioned. No, I'm kidding. But for Crab Brawler, he's definitely had a couple good runs recently, notoriously NAIC, where he qualified and then even did pretty decent at World Championships. But Lyles Jeff, I feel like it's a name that a lot of people don't know. He's came up with a couple good Great League teams for GBL, and he's just a great team builder in general. I feel like a lot of the teams that he's made for some of these past tournaments, and he spends a lot of time into that, really gives him an edge on top of his opponents. Plus, he's just a consistent battler, so I think he can definitely be a sort of a crab brawler just because I don't think everyone knows who he is. I think he does have a good following due to the beginner to winner group that he's in. But still, I feel like his name's not brought up as much as it should be, and I think one of the things he has as a huge strength is his team building, for sure. And two other names I'd like to mention, sort of my teammates though, but Arrow, just because he brings the most crazy teams that people can't prepare for, and he plays them somehow incredibly well. So I feel like he doesn't get a lot of credit just because he doesn't use meta teams, but he makes the teams work. And then a European who's also on the Stadium Emperors, and one of my best friends, Max Prasad. He hasn't been able to go to a ton of tournaments, but he's right knocking on the door of qualification every single time. So if he can make it out to a bunch of different tournaments, I think he has a pretty good chance. Now for my champion, I don't know if he's competing at all, but I know he's recently gotten back into streaming and has been enjoying it a lot more. And he's someone who I always said is the best to ever play the game when he's playing it consistently, and that's Tho. I think when he's at the top of his game, he's in my opinion, the best to do it. And now seeing he's having fun with the game back in streaming, I know he did qualify for Worlds last year and just decided not to compete. So if he gives it another run this year, go into regionals and Worlds, I think he can easily win it all. Obviously, you got to include both its accent and Wadaj as some of the best capabilities of being a champion as well, and taking the whole title. But Tho would be my pick is if he decides to compete.
I will try to convince him again to go to Worlds this year if he qualifies.
Well,
I tried
we
very hard.
already know, yeah. He's competing in Lille for sure, right? He said it today on I
He
caught
will
a bit of
go.
his stream.
He will go. He didn't
yeah.
confirm yet if he's competing, but he will.
Oh,
be
he's
there.
just gonna go hang.
Well,
okay.
right now
way.
he's battling a lot, so I'm just gonna call that he's gonna, he's gonna compete. I'm just pretty sure. He said, yeah, I'm probably spectating, but that's probably a whole bunch of copium. I also expect him at EYC, right? That's just the major European event, basically. And, if you're trying to qualify, that's where you want to go because many more points. And I think he's also considering NAIC because more of us are going, actually. I will be going. The Not 93, Felix, he will be going.
My goodness.
So,
should I go?
I think Alessio is... sorry, a Mind Joke is also going. So there will be a few... I might make a meme with the European invasion. Stay tuned for that.
Here's a fun fact about the NAIC that I'm really pushing. It's over my birthday weekend.
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
Maybe worth going for the trip then.
Maybe worth going for the trip. It is. I've never been to New Orleans before.
Say way better than Columbus.
Me either, by the way. So we can go together there. Yeah.
All right, big group check. All of us EU emperors, right?
Buffalo Wings.
Buffalo Wings in New Orleans. Yes.
Yeah. All right. I think that's all we had for today. Then thank you so much, Mayson, for coming on, my friend.
Oh, thank you for having me. I had a really good time. I love talking about this game. Spend so much time with it, but really is a staple of my life at this point. So love talking about it, love playing it, and thankful to be able to have the opportunity to come on.
Yeah, it's been a joy having you. Two things: one, happy belated birthday, and two, good luck this weekend in Pittsburgh. Maybe we'll have you on after you end up winning it just to have a little recap.
Hey, that'll be the goal. Let's see what I can do.
All right. Thanks again for being on, Mayson.
All right, thank you.